How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number 877-973-7425. Coming to you live from Naples, Florida today, where the sky is blue and so is the ocean, but it's cold down here. Don't forget to text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. So let's get into last night's State of the Union address. It was an impressive spectacle. Even on CNN, they're having to give him credit. In fact, I got to say, Abby Phillips is getting attacked, and I'm one to be critical of her, but she talked about how essentially Trump has a game show personality. He is able to do these game show moments, she called it, that get attention. And let's be honest, he did last night. It was very telling when the Team USA came in. Trump announced it. They weren't sitting there before he came in. He came in. He's speaking. They come in. They're wearing their medals. And they're in the press box. Everyone is cheering except the press. This is the press that has been assailing Team USA for the last few days for daring to go to the State of the Union. And then, of course, there were the moments with the Democrats. And in fact, the speech isn't that memorable if we're honest about it. I mean, Trump supporters will love the speech. His opponents will hate the speech. No minds will be changed. The polling that showed that 60 some odd percent, 70% of people liked the speech, that is mostly because it was Trump supporters watching it, not people who didn't like the president. The speech is going to be forgotten. What's not going to be forgotten are the visuals, and that's something the president understood. Some of you who are starting to get your back up when I was saying the speech wasn't that impressive, that's the point. The president knows the point is not the speech. The point is the visuals. Because the visuals matter. The visuals last. The visuals are what you focus on. And the visuals were stunning. Did you know we give commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens in the country? Did you know that? I mean, I bet you did, but did you know that there's not a federal ban? There's no federal law. The president now wants one. You think that's not going to resonate with normal people? It's like watching the American Press Corps over the past few days assail Team USA for daring to be invited to go to the State of the Union. Democrats think they're normal because they're in a bubble. Some of you are in a bubble on the right, and you think you're normal, and you're not. Normal people kind of horrified that an illegal alien can get a commercial driver's license in the United States of America with no impunity. And then the president calling on people to stand up and the Democrats refusing to stand up, talking about immigration, talking about the economy, highlighting those points. This is a Republican voter from California talking about the president last night.
I loved everything about it. I think that living in California right by the border, if you live by a border town, you 200% see the difference. And just the way that he brought in our fellow American heroes, it's trying to, and the U.S. Olympic gold medalists, those guys were awesome. It's just uplifting. It's like, if you do not see what has happened within 1 year, to all the American people, like, we all just need to realize everything's not going to be agreed upon. But I thought it was amazing. I'm seeing egg prices go down. I'm seeing the border secure, living on a border town. I'm witnessing it with my own eyes. I don't do social media. So thank you, guys. I loved it.
That was a Republican voter, of course, from California, but living on a border town, seeing the border being improved. And then, of course, you have the Democrats and the reaction of the Democrats. Representative Bynum, listen to this.
What did you think about that moment when the president was asking Democrats to stand up for American citizens during that part of the speech when he was talking about immigration and immigration enforcement efforts?
I think you can agree with the what, like standing up for American citizens, but I disagree with the how. And so it's always about how do we bring our country together, but not stand on the backs of others. There's thinly veiled racist language, anti-immigrant language in what he was asking, and that was uncomfortable.
Thinly veiled anti-immigrant and racist language, which is why they didn't want to stand up. This is a swing state voter.
I think the part of the speech that's probably going to live on for most Republicans is when he asked the Congress, stand up if you think your duty is first to American citizens before illegal aliens. Republicans stood up. It gave him his most sustained applause for the night. I suspect, Van, you're going to see this in a lot of campaign ads, that Democrats wouldn't stand up. What did you all think of the showmanship of that, or of sort of the spectacle of trying to get Democrats to stand up for that?
Well, I think the point, I think that and it may have gotten a little muddled, but, in the showmanship, but I think his point is valid. Everybody in that room represents the citizens in this country. And are you doing your job? He should, the governor asked, is Trump doing his job? Trump asked, are all of you doing your job?
But don't you think it was just kind of a cheap stunt? To just, you're somebody who's been in politics for a long time. To me, it seemed like a stunt. No matter what Trump told Democrats, stand up if I say anything. If he said, stand up if you like puppies, they would have said, we like kittens. There's no way they were going to stand up. So to me, he was just trying to make Democrats look bad. But should they have stood up, Pastor?
Mm-hmm. The role should be to unify the country. And I think this was the opportunity for us to come together as one.
Yeah. Come together as one, says the black voter, undecided, moderate in the panel. Come together as one. And the Democrats chose not to. Listen, the Democrats could have chosen to stand, and that's part of the point here. The Democratic Party chose last night not to stand up. The Democratic Party last night chose to sit down when Irina Zurinsky's family was there. The woman murdered, Ukrainian refugee murdered in Charlotte, North Carolina. They wouldn't stand for her family. They chose not to stand when the president said we should be supporting American citizens, not illegal aliens. They chose not to stand repeatedly. Some of them chose not to stand for Team USA. And when people were chanting USA, 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 Rashida Tlaib was chanting KKK, KKK, KKK. You could see it on her lips. You could read her lips. They zoomed in on her on the cameras. It was genuinely an interesting, telling night where the president did what Joe Biden tried to do in 2022. Now, let's go back to 2022. It wasn't the State of the Union address. It was Joe Biden in Pennsylvania in front of the Constitution Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He stood there with the red lights and the Marines behind him giving this presidential speech, which even members of the press were like, I don't know, buddy, that was kind of partisan to have the Marines there. And what Joe Biden tried to do was tell Americans that Donald Trump and Republicans were a threat to democracy, and that was the defining action of the 2022 campaign, was that the Democrats or the Republicans were a threat to democracy, and you needed to vote for the Democrats, even if you didn't like them, to protect democracy. Along comes Donald Trump last night, and at the State of the Union, with all of the Democrats in the room, says the Democrats are out to lunch on all these issues. The Democrats are not just bad on these issues, the Democrats are against the American people on these issues. And he was able to demonstrate it by them not applauding. He had the girl there who was the pressured into a gender transition, who was then treated as a boy and was raped and beaten. It was a horrific story. And the president used her to talk about how we shouldn't be forcing transitions on children. The Democrats refused to stand for her. This is the president when the hockey team came in.
And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
And here they come, and not a single reporter in there is clapping. The reporters are, there's 3 reporters. probably about 50 reporters. And people start chanting USA. They have their medals. The press is absolutely doing their best to ignore it all. I mean, listen to the crowd. Listen to the applause. The cameramen are focused on the athletes at this moment. They're not focused on the Democrats or Republicans in the House chamber. And then suddenly you see the crowd, you hear the president, and a number of the Democrats, you realize, haven't stood up either. Now the athletes are calling for more applause. When you look out, they pan to the back of the Democrats, and some of the Democrats have sat down. They're not cheering the athletes, and the President of the United States winds up calling them out on it.
That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up.
He's right. Not all of them did get up. Most of them got up for Team USA. Most of them did. But a lot of them did not. It was very, very telling how the Democrats decided to do this. And, you know, Hakeem Jeffries knew they were going to have a problem. Hakeem Jeffries was telling Democrats, don't protest, sit if you must, but there would probably be some moments where they would need to actually stand up. And they refused to stand up. Technical glitch on the hotel Wi-Fi, thanks to my crack team hopping to commercial break while I then had to fire up a hotspot on my iPad. It's amazing what you can do with technology, and also amazing what you can't do in the 21st century. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. As I was saying, when the hotel Wi-Fi rudely decided to cut me off, this is a moment that the President of the United States set up for the Democrats to be able to cheer for, and they couldn't bring themselves to stand for it.
Hey, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget. There were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal set free to kill in America. Came in through open borders. Mrs. Zaretsky, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina.
She's sitting next to the mother who's crying. She was sitting next to Eric Kirk, who is also crying. And the Democrats would not stand up for that moment where they were promising justice for her daughter.
How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to pass tough legislation to ensure that violent and dangerous repeat offenders are put behind bars, and importantly, that they stay there.
And the Democrats don't stand. And by the way, the president, notably, this is where the stagecraft comes in, and this is where I don't think the Democrats appreciated it. The president is a showman. The president got to start doing reality TV. He knew the cameras were not going to show the Democrats not standing up for that. So he makes the point of making sure everyone knows in his speech, how do you not stand up for that? To signal to the crowd that can't see the Democrats that these people are not standing up for this moment. They didn't stand up for any of the moments. Now, here's the thing, I got to make this point is somewhat again. Most of the people who will watch the State of the Union are not normal people. And I don't mean that offensively. I just mean that, if you spend your day watching politics, paying attention to politics, you're not really normal. Normal people are just going about their lives. They're picking their kids up from school, dropping their kids off. They're going to work. They're coming home. They're going to Little League. They're taking care of dinner. What do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? Food? What sort of food? The type of food you eat? We go through that with my family. They're not really that dialed in. So they're not really watching the State of the Union. They might tune in. They might get curious. But it's the viral moments, and they're going to see the viral moments. They're going to know people talking about it. They're going to know people who saw it, and they're going to see the clips later. They're going to see the clips on social media. And when they see the clips on social media and then they hear their friends talking about it, did you know that the president had the family of the girl who was murdered in Charlotte, North Carolina there, and the Democrats wouldn't stand up for him? Did you know the president had a girl there who was forced to transition, who was coerced to do it, who changed her mind? They did it anyway. They put her in a boys' lockup facility. She was gang raped, and the president was there and condemned the forced transitions of kids, and the Democrats refused to stand up for it. Did you know the president had a moment where he asked that Congress stand for citizens, not illegal aliens, and the Democrats refused to stand for it? Those moments will be the viral moments. Those moments will be the moments that settle in the same way when Joe Biden gave his speech in 2022 and was making about a defense of democracy. And the Republicans are a threat to democracy. And to a degree, it did neutralize some of the Republican wave in 2022. To a degree, it did. Now, there's argument that abortion had more to do with it than the Democrats, than Joe Biden's speech. But concurrent to that, there is a lot of data to say Americans were concerned about the radicalism of the GOP in 2022. And here comes the president in the State of the Union and is able to point out there's a level of radicalism within the Democratic Party. They could not stand up and cheer for Team USA. They could not stand up and cheer for this woman whose daughter was murdered because a Democrat let a murderer out of prison and he went back to killing. It's a defining moment. And the Democrats, they already are out of touch with Americans. This is just going to line them more out of touch. Now, I want you to be in touch with Vision Computers. If you need a new computer, Vision Computers can build you a computer. I'm down here in Naples, Florida. I know people in Naples who have computers from Vision Computers here. They work with people all over the country, even though they're headquartered in Atlanta. You can give them a call at 404-COMPUTE, 404-COMPUTE, or visioncomputers.com. Let Vision Computers build you a new computer. They would be glad to build you a new computer. Not only that, you can get their managed IT service. I told you about the woman the other day who called, who didn't even have them. She called him. She was in a panic. Her computer was messed up. They wound up helping her with her computer. She was so grateful. She's like, I called him the next day, and I've started doing business with Vision Computers. You can do that too. Call them today at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Let Vision Computers be your computer service center. Let them build you computers. If you get a computer with them, the managed IT comes with it. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Anybody nationwide, any business nationwide, take advantage of this. Greetings, conversationalists. It is Eric Erickson here. I will take your phone calls as well today, 877-973-7425. If you want to chime in on what you saw last night at the State of the Union. I got to get into some more of the clips from last night, though, because it actually was it had some down moments, but it, for the most part, was a good speech. It was a solid speech. It went on way too long. But as I said earlier, you're really there for the optics. The president, of course, wanted to focus on the economy. He wanted to show people what he had done. And so he wanted to highlight things like this.
A disaster is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline.
And the Democrats, again, they stay seated. No applause.
Mortgage rates are the lowest in 4 years and falling fast, and the annual cost of a typical new mortgage is down almost $5,000 just since I took office. 1 year. And low interest rates will solve the Biden-created housing problem while at the same time protecting the values of those people who already own a house that really feel rich for the first time in their lives. We want to protect those values. We want to keep those values up. We're going to do both.
Highlighting his economic success is also drugs.
The entire world to the lowest. That's a big achievement. The result is price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600% and more, all available right now at a new website called TrumpRx.gov. And I didn't name that one either, by the way. And here tonight is the very first customer ever to get that big discount, and it is big, Catherine Rayner. For 5 years, she and her husband have struggled with infertility, and they turned to IVF. One drug has been costing Catherine $4,000 to purchase, but a few weeks ago, she logged onto the Trump RX website and got that same drug that cost $4,000, got it for under $500. A reduction of much more, actually, than $3,500. Catherine, we are all praying for you, and you're going to be a great mom.
The Democrats couldn't. I mean, this is IVF, which the Democrats said Republicans wanted to kill, and the Democrats couldn't stand up for this. I think those viral moments are going to register with normal Americans. You can't stand up for the family of a girl who was murdered. You can't stand up for American citizens over illegal aliens. You can't stand up for a pregnant mother who has been struggling with IVF costs, and the president was able to lower the costs on something that you have long supported and attacked the Republicans and claimed they didn't support. Some of you don't stand up for Team USA. You attack Team USA. They're just Democrats aren't normal. They're not normal people these days. They're out of touch with ordinary Americans when they can't cheer stuff like this. Now, to be clear, obviously the president designed these moments to try to trap the Democrats. They didn't have to take the bait. That's the thing here. The Democrats did not have to take the president's bait. They chose to take the bait of the president of the United States and refuse to stand for these moments for the president. The president lorded over them. He controlled them. And that's one of the things here. So, just random tangent side note. When you hear people talk about forgiveness, the art of forgiveness. So I've been watching Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus, the Marvel series. It's fantastic. I'm a big Daredevil fan, and I've read the comic books. I've seen the earlier editions that were on Netflix. They're now on Disney. And in this particular series, one of the overarching themes is forgiveness. And the bad guy struggles with forgiveness, can't forgive. And what is so interesting to me in the thematic issue, the way they're portraying it, is the corrosive effects of being unable to forgive. And when you talk to psychologists about forgiveness, you talk to theologians about forgiveness, one of the points that they all make is that if you're unable to forgive, you're allowing that person to exercise control over you. Now, I had it put by a theologian one time that if you're unable to forgive, you're saying that your conscience was pricked more than Christ on the cross, who after being tortured, beaten, and crucified and nailed to a cross says, Father, forgive them. If you can't forgive and he can, well, then you're saying you were more afflicted than him. That one hit home. But the primary issue is of control. If you can't forgive someone, you're allowing that person to exercise control over you. And what we saw last night, the Democrats, of course, think Donald Trump is the worst thing ever. I saw someone is now comparing the Republicans and Donald Trump to the Taliban and essentially saying what Trump is doing to the United States right now is no different than what Al-Qaeda did on 9/11, crashing Flight 93 into the ground, essentially. and into the towers and into the Pentagon. That's the way Trump is operating. That is allowing Donald Trump to exercise a level of control over your psyche that's not helpful to you or anyone around you. And what the Democrats, by last night allowing Donald Trump to control them, they couldn't bring themselves to cheer for Americans. They couldn't bring themselves to cheer on a family that is hoping to get pregnant. They couldn't bring themselves to cheer for the American hockey team. They couldn't bring themselves to cheer for American citizens over illegal aliens. They couldn't do that because Donald Trump controls them. And he knew it. He knew he had them. He knew that he got out of them what he wanted. This is the moment about gender transitions last night from the president.
Tonight are Sage Blair and her mother, Michelle. In 2021, Sage was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents. Hard to believe, isn't it? Before long, a confused Sage ran away from home after she was found in a horrific situation in Maryland. A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full-ride scholarship to Liberty University. Sage and Michelle, please stand up.
Again, the Democrats can applaud. They zoomed in on McBride, the trans congressman.
And thank you for your great bravery. And who can believe that we're even speaking about things like this? 15 years ago, if somebody was up here and said that, they'd say, what's wrong with him? But now we have to say it because it's going on all over numerous states without even telling the parents. But surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we're even talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately.
And again, the Democrats couldn't. You have a real person. This is the genius of him bringing her there, because the Democrats say these things don't happen. It actually happened. Here is the girl that it happened to. Here is her story. And the Democrats would insist that it didn't happen. It couldn't happen. There's no way it happened. And yet it did happen. And here is proof of it happening. And so the president, by highlighting it, highlights just how out to lunch the Democrats are on these sorts of things. The president, by highlighting it, shows that the Democrats are that out of touch. The president, by highlighting it, shows that it's a real thing in the country. It's not it's not the hypothetical. It's not the fear scenario. It's real. And the Democrats, they couldn't stand up for that. They wouldn't stand up for that. His willingness to use last night to spotlight the insanity of Democratic positions was very well done. His willingness to get Democrats to refuse to cheer on victims, to refuse to cheer on a soldier who got the the Congressional Medal of Honor last night. The unwillingness of the Democrats to cheer on that. Contrast that to, what is it, Chuck, I can't pronounce the last name, Matthew Chuck, the hockey player.
You win, you celebrate with family and friends in Milan, then we're flying back first thing in the morning, and then we're in Miami, and we're supposed to be in New York. Now we're here in D.C., and now we're going to the State of the Union tonight. Like, it's absolutely insane, but we deserve it. We really pride ourselves on being, true Americans that would do anything it takes for this country and to win, and I'm so proud of the guys, and I'm so proud to be able to compete with them.
That was last night on Brett Baer's program before the State of the Union. There they were for there. They stopped and visited with soldiers on their way to the State of the Union address. And the Democrats didn't want to cheer. Here are these guys who are willing to show up, whirlwind tour, They're pro-America. They've been assailed now by the American Press Corps for daring to go to the State of the Union. The Democrats, they couldn't cheer. Don't think this doesn't come back. Now, can the Republicans still screw it up? Yes, the Republicans still screw it up. Never underestimate the Republicans' ability to snatch victory from the jaws, or snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Never underestimate the Republicans' ability to do that. Never underestimate the Republicans' ability to get off message and screw up. Never underestimate the president's ability to say something that distracts everyone. Never underestimate their ability to do that. But also, it is remarkable how well scripted President Trump's speech was last night. Now, I want you to go back 2 years ago. 2 years ago to the State of the Union. It was probably one of the best State of the Unions ever. Joe Biden gave it. No. Let me make my point here. It was probably one of the best State of the Unions ever because Joe Biden was able to use it to delude the press corps and the Democrats into thinking he was mentally fit enough to be president of the United States again. Remember that? After the State of the Union, the buzz from the press and the buzz from the Democrats is they say he's got dementia. There's nothing wrong with him. Look at that man. Look at how sharp he is. He was able to use the moment to cover up the frailty. And it worked to the Democrats' detriment ultimately, because ultimately Joe Biden wasn't up for the job. But the stagecraft of it allowed him to build up. And then it all blew up on the debate stage. The stagecraft of last night's speech now puts Democrats on defensive, being out of touch. It wasn't so much building up Donald Trump. Listen, the Democrats are already going to say he's got dementia, he's out of touch. The reality is, it is the Democrats who are out of touch, and it is the Democrats who are now going to have to prove that they're in touch with the American people, and they can't do that. How do I know the Democrats can't do it? Because they're still out there saying you need to abolish ICE. How do I know the Democrats can't do it? Because they're still out there saying we need more taxes on people. How do I know the Democrats can't do it? Because they're still out there saying they need to defend illegal aliens. Chuck Schumer, you know what Chuck Schumer has said now? Chuck Schumer was asked about the what we need to do with illegal aliens in the country, how we should proceed to navigate the issue of illegal aliens in the United States. And you know what he said? We need a pathway to citizenship for the 11 million. That's what Chuck Schumer, that's his position on Morning Joe this morning.
What would an immigration deal look like between Republicans and Democrats in the Senate?
Well, we had a good model in 2013, as you may remember, bipartisan. John McCain and I headed the Gang of Eight. We had 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, including Marco Rubio, who's now gone to the other side on this. But we could come up with a bill like that. It toughens up the border. It gives a path to citizenship, a long, tough path to citizenship for 11 million people who are here. It allows high-tech people who are needed in our industries to come in. But it was a bill that got 70 votes in the Senate.
You got that? Would give a pathway to citizenship for 11 million people here. Americans don't support amnesty, and the Democrats can't help themselves on this particular issue. The Democrats want amnesty. They can't bring themselves to cheer for American citizens over illegal aliens. Instead, you got Chuck Schumer on TV saying we need amnesty. They don't want to cheer for American citizens. They want to cheer for illegal aliens. They can't help show how out of touch they are. And the president last night masterfully demonstrated just how out of touch the Democrats are and how much he lives rent-free in their heads. Welcome back. This hour of the program brought to you by Van Allen Golf. VanAllenGolf.com, ALLEN. I'm looking out my window here at my hotel in Naples, Florida, to a golf course that I wish I could play on. If I did, I'd have my Van Allen golf putter with me. You can too. If you got someone you love in your family or you love golf, you need to check out VanAllenGolf.com. Text golf to 33777. I'll send you a link to Van Allen Golf and also to the Golfer's Journal. Now, we got other stuff we got to talk about, but before I get to them, I want to play this clip from Raphael Warnock. He is the U.S. Senator from Georgia. Thought this was very telling.
You know, President Trump is polling better than Democrats when it comes to immigration. You were there on the ground in Minnesota during those ICE protests. Why aren't Democrats trusted to handle immigration issues in this country right now?
Listen, ordinary common sense folks know that you have to have a secure border, but you also have to have immigration policies that make sense. I can tell you that I was talking to business leaders, and I've talked to small business owners in my state. And whether you're talking about farmers or people who run other kinds of small businesses and industries, they are suffering. They're suffering for lack of workers.
Notice he doesn't answer the question. Why aren't Democrats trusted? I'll tell you why. Let's listen to Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson.
We need to stand together to ensure that we put an end to the mass deportations. We must put an end and abolish ICE.
Abolish ICE. That was the Democrats' counter-protest last night, the State of the Swamp, they called it. Only about 100 people were there. And that was their signature issue, was abolish ICE. The Democrats' counter programming to the State of the Union was a call to defund and get rid of ICE. That's why, Senator Warnock, you're not trusted on this issue, because deep down I think most people recognize you too would support the abolition of ICE. By the way, note to Lauren in Oklahoma, that's abolitionist. That's what you do, is you seek to abolish things, not do nothing, just so you understand what that word means. If you listened yesterday, you understand. Now, let me tell you about my bank, Old Glory Bank. I was able to use them last night at an ATM. Wasn't theirs, but that's okay. oldglorybank.com/Eric. You can go get a checking account, a savings account with them. I've got a bank account with them. I've got checking and savings with them. I've got the no-fee accounts with them. You can get the premium accounts with them. And if you're active duty military, they'll waive the fees on those accounts for you. If you're a business, you can do business banking with them, and they get to know your business. If you ever need business lending, they also do mortgages. They do CDs. They're a full-service bank. They're an online bank. So I was able to use this ATM last night, but they will reimburse me the ATM fee because it's the sort of thing they do as they grow nationwide. oldglorybank.com/Eric. You can even deposit cash at Old Glory Bank, even though they're an online bank. They've been able to figure it out, make it very, very easy for you. I was able to do that with my winnings when I came back from Las Vegas. Simply went up to the local convenience store by my house. They scanned a QR code on my Old Glory Bank app. I gave them the cash. It went into my account. You can do this too. oldglorybank.com/Eric. oldglorybank.com/ERICK. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply.